Joanna said, I know how we can work together. Have you ever heard of Marion Doherty? And I said, no. And I went back to New York and I looked into it. I'm like, who's this Marion Doherty? She's a legendary casting director. Why have I never heard about her? I agreed to interview Marion, and in 2007 did a 12-hour interview, and my jaw dropped through the entire thing. And it started from there.
My agent called and said that Marion wanted me to meet Tim Burton, who wanted to make a film out of Batman, to play the Joker. And I thought, who wants to see a movie about Batman? And I went in to see Tim Burton with Marion in the room to play the role of the Joker. And I sat there and I said, I am frankly so exhausted. If I did this role, I'm afraid I'd have to begin it the day after I closed in a butterfly. And to be honest, the idea of playing a grotesque at this point in my career, I basically persuaded Tim Burton to not even think of me for the role of the...
Good, well,
and
you talked yourself out of the
Marion
job.
was looking at me through the entire time with these steely eyes, like, you asshole.
Well, you are, in fact, you're protecting the story as a casting person and trying to consistently support the director, and by doing that, you're often reminding the director, if the studio is pressuring them to go with, let's say, a more marketable name, reminding them of why the really important thing is to tell the story correctly with the right person.
I've said to casting directors many times, and I know I got this from Marion, I didn't realize until I saw this movie. I said, I don't want to see them do the scene, and I don't want to watch the tape. Because when I'm watching the tape, I'm judging that photography. None of them know how to shoot. So I'm going, oh my God, it's so badly lit.
Most directors, and this happens to be my favorite word, are open to trying different approaches to characters. And sometimes they say, you know, you were right. That does work. You never know where or when you're going to find the answer that will satisfy him. So you have to have the courage to stand up.
And one of the things that hampers the films now is that very often the decisions are made by, you know, who's worth what in what territory, irrespective of their suitability for the part. And whenever you see a fresh face in a film, it's so exciting. And Marion really understood that, and that's why she put so many people into films and would fight for them. And I think that's what you're really missing nowadays. And
This guy walked in, and I'm like, who are you? We're waiting on Lynn Stallmaster. And he was Lynn Stallmaster. I had no idea. So I thought I had a half hour for him. We went 2 hours. It was like an interrogation. And I realized, if Marion was the queen of casting in New York, you had to talk about the king of casting in Hollywood. Because it wasn't just a film about Marion. It was a film about this profession that had developed out of the ashes of the studio system. So we got this letter yesterday from a friend of Lynn Stallmaster. And it's from John Travolta, and he wrote it yesterday. And he said, Dearest Lynn, and he apologizes for not being here. What can I say to the man who changed Hollywood and made a difference forever by creating a whole era of film history? And the man who, if it weren't for him, I certainly wouldn't be here today and have had the success I've had. Congratulations, Lynn, on your epic career. I love you. Oh, and P.S., for those who should know, Lynn had so much influence and power in Hollywood, film companies would simply go with his ideas. Of course, he had a very gracious way of presenting these ideas. He was so influential that he never had to overwhelm anyone with these ideas. And he's one of the true humanitarians in the world, for he had to be. He cast the world's film characters, and they had to tell the stories. He's the best.
Aww.